The forge has gone quiet, the bellows blow no more. The forge has gone quiet, the smiths have gone home. Only fading embers remain, and my hearth grows cold. One kiss from you to rekindle it all.
Alright, so I'm going to do a quick countdown. So... Welcome back to the Queen of Embers! I'm your host, Daniel Fox.
Why does that joke never get old?
I know, right?
It's because you make such a silly joke during the countdown. I think for this one, I'll actually leave the countdown in.
Yeah.
Just so I can see him going,
Yeah.
ooh, I can't wait till the end.
We're on episodes 22 and 23 tonight. The previous episode we actually did our move from basic to intermediate tiers. So I think that was like pretty much a 3.5 hour episode. Yeah. We also did a recap of the first couple chapters too, so that's important.
Yeah.
That's a fun discussion. Yeah, good stuff. So obviously we're joined by everybody because it's the beginning of chapter 3. Yay! We're chapter 3 of 7 chapters moving forward. We got a long ways to go, but the story is just is beginning to unfold. So we're going to just jump right in. But first, we're going to be play testing an interesting new mechanic that is actually not necessarily for Zweihander, but could be. It's kind of a fun thing that we're toying with. We're doing another game too that's unnamed, but we'll talk about that later. But we're going to be testing a mechanic that actually we're going to be using for Colonial Gothic, our next game powered by Zweihänder. So, in Colonial Gothic, we are trying to kind of find themes that lean into this kind of idea of rugged individualism of like the early Americans, early colonialists. And the first thing that I kind of looked at was like the use of fortune. And although it's not called fortune in Colonial Gothic, we don't have to worry about that. But this idea came about the idea of like, well, is there an opportunity to divorce the fortune pool completely and actually have individual fortune points? And the answer was, sure, why not? So here's what we're going to test. So real quickly around the table, Adam, how many fate points do you have?
I have 2.
Perfect. You get 2 fortune points.
Thanks.
Ooh.
How many do you have?
I have 2.
You get 2 fortune points.
Ah.
Tim, how many do you have?
Same.
2? Okay. How many do you have, Walter?
I have 1.
Okay. Sorry, you each should have 1 free one plus your fate value. So Walter gets 2. So you at least always have 1. How many do you have, Kay?
1.
1? Okay. You get 2. What do you have?
2.
2. So we need to get you... do they have a quarter or a coin in their pocket?
Never.
I have 2 fate points.
But you should have an additional one to get one.
Yes, yeah.
Basically, what you do is you get 1 plus your fate points. That's how many fortune points you get when you begin play. Now, what's going to happen is as we play and you use these things, they're going to convert into misfortune. But what we found by an early test at a different game is that people use them more often, which was fun. And the conversion part was fun too. The nice thing is because you're not so worried about conserving the small pool of points you have, the likelihood of the game master just fucking unloading on you with all what he or she has in their pool, it doesn't appear to be as likely because there's more flow of fortune and misfortune on both sides. So we're gonna test this. We're gonna see how well it works out for us, see if it's worth exploring, etc., etc. There's an important change though. A couple of important changes, I should say, in use of fortune and fate points. So first we're going to talk about new uses of fortune. Immediately after suffering damage or peril, spend 1 fortune point, go 1 step up the damage condition track. Immediately after. This means you can't unload at the end of the session to like get yourself all the way back up if you have leftover fortune. So let's say that, okay, so Kay's
Is that-
character... Yes.
Does that negate the use of a fortune point to remove, like a hit?
You can't use a fortune point to remove a hit,
Oh,
alright.
that's okay.
I mean, if you're thinking about using a fate point and not dying,
Well, yeah,
That's different.
That's different.
That's different.
So, imagine Elisa
is
is...
7 game sessions. Or,
Yeah. Imagine Elisa is struck by a weapon. She's like, ah, shit, guys, I just went 3 steps on the damage reduction track. I'm going to spend a fortune point to immediately go 1 step up. Which you can do.
If you are slain, that is not an option, I take it.
That is correct.
correct.
Okay.
That's a fate.
That also means that if you are hit and go down 3 steps on the damage condition track and you want to use all 3 fortune points you have, go ahead. Put them in the bucket, because those turn into misfortune for me. So anytime that you take damage, not just in combat, but outside of combat, anytime you take damage or suffer peril, you may spend 1 fortune point to immediately go up that track by 1 step.
Can I make a fun suggestion?
Yes, what's up?
If there are any unused misfortune points, can we add to the chaos roll at the end of the game?
No. We won't be testing that.
Some of us want order.
Now let me
Like
continue
to get
along the
onto
same lines.
correct.
Now let's talk about this. If you use a fortune point, this is a little more complex of a version. If you use a fortune point that is relevant to your alignment in a roleplay situation, anytime, if you can justify it, as an example, what's your chaos alignment?
Cruelty.
Cruelty.
Because we all know he's not going to do it.
Let's say that you're in the middle of a fight
even
and
ask.
you're like, well, guys, cruelty is my chaos alignment, and I really want to turn this 6-sider into phase 6. I'm going to lean to my cruelty and use a fortune point to turn it into a phase 6. If you do that, remove 1 corruption. Remove corruption.
Oh, poor Nick.
Nick's never going to use that ability.
It's like, I can't do that.
He loves corruption.
Yeah.
If you
Now
set
the
zero, you
alternative
use one,
use,
doesn't
the
even
alternative
make-
use, if we don't do corruption, would be to simply give reward points, which probably makes more sense for our game. But nonetheless, we'll let you choose either refund 1 corruption or gain 25 reward points.
Or what about...
So you should use your. Well, it probably makes more sense to do reward
You have a
points.
Caligula
Okay.
coin as well?
I do.
Nice.
Those are Mardi Gras coins.
Yep.
Let's not use corruptions. Do reward points. There's 25 reward points. That way you guys have an opportunity. It'll encourage you to use them. Everybody wants reward points because you move it faster up the profession's path.
Yeah.
So spend a fortune point in relation to your alignment and justify it in a role-playing sense and gain 25 reward points, even if you don't succeed the test.
Okay.
So that's the new use of fortune. Fate, 1 new use as well. Normally you can spend fate points to escape injury or death. We're also going to allow creative use of fate points to edit the scenario, to edit the situation. So as an example, let's say that Harper is hunkered behind a rock. He's under crossbow fire, or he's under gunfire by the Salt Pyramid, and he's out of ammunition. Like they've got him dead to rights. He's like, Dan, I think it probably makes sense for you to spend a fate point, and I would like to find more ammunition, or for the situation to turn to my favor in a specific way. Meaning, you take the narrative reins and you change the situation in a way that we both agree to. You can use fate points to do that now too, but it's gone forever. Just like fate points are used to escape death or injury. You're essentially editing the scenario by doing that in the first place. So we're going to extend that to allow you to take somewhat narrative control of the situation. So that's the change. That's what we're going to do.
Okay.
Does that make sense to everybody?
I have a question.
Yes.
At what point do we roll for injuries when we account for going 1 step up the damage condition track?
You don't ever roll for injuries when you go up the damage condition track.
What I mean is, like, say we are knocked down to serious, and I want to use a fortune point. Do we roll for injury at serious or at moderate?
You roll for serious. It's after you suffer damage and any impact you would have.
Yep. Just making sure.
Suffer damage means move down the track,
Yep.
not just get hit and withstand the blow. Meaning you
why
can't
you
have somebody hit you with a rock, a la Final Fantasy Tactics, to gain JP. You can't cheat the system. Like, here, hit me. I know you're not going to do enough damage, so I can heal. Essentially, you can't do that. You must move down the damage condition track. It's immediately after you suffer damage. It does not negate injury. It does not negate bleed. It does not negate any other situation beyond that. Those things still persist.
Right, which is why you can't get around being slain, because you would go to slain first, and then move up. But you're already dead, so you can't move up.
Still a pretty awesome usage
Now,
of...
Can I use that for Matthew, my horse? Where if he would have taken damage, I could
No.
spend a fortune point to move him up?
Nope, only characters get that.
Tell
Aw.
Matthew to use his own damn fortune.
That's right.
Yeah.
What about if, like in Hazards and Healing, I use 3 times as many?
Matthew would have to be in the story to take damage.
Matthew already rerolled Guile 3 times.
Hey, Matthew went on that boat like a boss. He
And
did.
has not done anything.
Matthew is considered a non-player character. He is not a character.
He's a named NPC, though. I'm just
No
saying.
named NPCs don't get... No.
He's a named in
Coincidentally, I should remember that
Right.
non-player characters do not gain fate points, so they cannot quote edit the situation or avoid injury or death.
I can't
So I've
level
already
my
got that
horse.
power, guys.
What? I guess if Daniel really wanted to, he could. For Matthew
Nay.
using misfortune, but that
Yeah,
wouldn't
now,
be-
if
that
you
wouldn't
wanted
be
to spend a fate point to avoid having your horse slain,
Oh, fuck yeah, I would.
yeah, if it makes sense, narratively, absolutely. If you can justify it, yes, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Remember like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood where you had to whistle and the horse was always hiding around the nearest corner?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Use
that
a fate point.
That horse was amazing. That horse was always there.
he was always there for you, man.
It's like a Pona from Link.
Right.
Or for Link.
So
Listen.
let's jump right into the Queen of Embers. It is less than 24 hours later, after the events of what happened at the chapter house. You are sitting in a brigandine watch station. You are sitting in a brigandine watch station near Founder Square. That's where near Messiah Square. My apologies. And you are in the offices of Lieutenant Reich, who you have met before. He is the constable of Messiah Square. You have kind of begun to tell your story. Essentially, what we heard last week will be part of that story. The question is, how much do you choose to reveal to Lieutenant Reich about what happened? And this can be in character. We'll assume that you've got privacy and you're about to go through this kind of interrogation. All of you are there. You're all collected in Brigandine Watchtower. You know just outside those heavy wooden doors is Lieutenant Reich and the rest of Brigandine who brought you here. Remember, the students are the one that found you with with the headmaster Hofdorf lying dead on the floor when he had thrown himself from the banister. Not from the banneker, but from the banister.
Yeah. For the Banneker.
So you all are essentially kind of in this room. And remember, Lieutenant Reich has been friendly with you before.
Yeah.
He has seemingly been welcoming and open to you coming to Durendal from your interactions with him so far.
All right. This guy, he seems to be a stand-up guy. But no matter how stand-up you are, sometimes, particularly because you're stand-up, when you're dealing with someone that looks like they may have murdered someone.
How do we tell people
Sorry. Trying to get my Bluetooth going up for the sound.
When you're dealing with somebody that is upright and you look like you might have murdered someone, we might see a side of him we've never seen before. So, I just want to make sure that what we're saying is the same thing. And that we're consistent in what we're saying. Because nothing's more suspicious than folks saying something different on account of memory or on account of lying. Because they ain't going to know which is which. Now, I'm the type that is just saying, well, let's tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing as how some of the subject matter we have encountered may not seem like the truth, we may not tell all of the truth. So I'm
So
gonna
you're saying leave things out.
maybe. I'm thinking there are people here who are smarter than me. But
I'll let you do all the talking.
that's a nice luxury to have until you're asked something directly. We're all going to have to take responsibility for this at some point, because we may be asked something directly. So, I just want us to take a moment to think about this.
Are we in trouble?
We could be, yeah. Because for all them students knew, we were storming the place. I mean, good gods, if you have any more than a spoon, you're dangerous to anyone in this god's forsaken town.
Isn't that the truth?
Well, actually, that's every town.
But boss, I wasn't really there. I mean,
There is such a thing as guilt by association.
well, I mean, it's the truth. I can tell this man, these poor people's food that you're subjecting me to is made my stomach just intolerable.
Well, then you say that.
Oh, okay. Easy. I'm in line. I mean, well, you've told me what happened, but
Well, feel.
I don't think I would tell them that. I hardly believe you. Only reason I believe you is because I know you.
So what part were you thinking should not be in there knowing? Because you state maybe we shouldn't tell them everything. So what part are you questioning telling them?
Maybe about what we saw on the island.
I don't know this man. Your group met with him before I was part, so I don't know how to judge him.
What does the island have to do with any of this? They want to know what's going on with this guy. They want to know what's going on with the old professor.
They could question why
Turn
they
up,
came
dead as a
here.
doornail, you know?
Right.
Black,
What
right on
would
the
we do?
ground.
What were we
would have
doing?
to have that island in the story. That's how we got the key.
Well,
Yeah, what were we doing there? Well, we
The
went
man,
to.
the man was off his rocker. He's crazy.
I'm one for honesty and truth, but I'll let y'all decide.
I'm just saying, there isn't no reason to even address it. Just tell them what they know and they can see by just looking around his lab. Craziness.
Well, I'm of the mind that they're gonna wonder why we went.
Well, isn't it pretty easy? We were given word that he had something to do with the rig. That is the
We're on an
reason.
investigation.
Right. And I'm even
We're
willing,
accents down, for God's sakes, right? Saying that right?
I'm even willing to say that we went to the island. I'm just saying maybe we shouldn't go into detail about what happened on there.
We found some
Well-
clues that led
Right.
to the professor.
Right. But not mentioning any fire that we couldn't see. Not mentioning any birds with people's faces.
I see what you're saying.
Those sort of details.
Any of you ever been a prisoner of war before?
Can't say I have.
No.
There's something you pick up from that. You get real good at the habit of answering only what was asked.
well,
You know what time it is?
No.
midday?
That's what I'm talking about. The answer is yes or no. Get out of the habit of answering more than was asked.
Alright. Well, though I appreciate your tactic, it's not exactly the most solid for everyone to be able to stand on the same line.
The door opens in the middle of the conversation, interrupting.
Warren looks over to the door with a dumb look on his face.
Lieutenant Reich walks in, and the fellow, if you recall, you've met him a couple times at least in Messiah Square. He's a man of some age. He looks tired. He looks old. He's mostly just worn out and exhausted. He has deep purple bags beneath of his eyes. He's wearing this kind of loose black leather that's studded. It's got laps or bands of leather kind of bound together with studs. A little bit of a paunchy belly. He walks in, and a couple of his reporting officers come in with him as well, and they close the door. He walks over to the window and opens it up to let the air in. Do you smell that? The reek's gone, he says.
Yeah.
First time in days.
I do believe we noticed that it seemed like maybe the wind was blowing it in a different direction. Maybe that's why we didn't notice it. But now does it actually seem gone?
Yeah.
Huh.
It still clings to your clothes. The smell does. Nothing in the air.
Ain't that a thing?
Ain't that a thing?
I can't say it'll be missed as I rub my eye.
He nods. You can see one of his officers has clearly been treated. His eyes are roomy looking. They're red and crusty. Sit down, please. Or stand, whichever you prefer.
I'll take a seat. Thank you.
Something to drink.
Sure.
He offers you from the same decanter you shared from the night after you had leapt atop the slaver's barge.
Yeah. Take some water.
If this stirs up any memories. Well, here we are again.
Yep.
I know you're all about doing your thing and here in Durendal. But I'm just doing what my charge is. I hope you can understand.
Right.
That we can.
He lifts his cup and takes a drink.
Drink with him.
So, I got to be frank with you. You know Sir Leland?
That we do.
He's got a stick of his arse for you. I don't know why.
Flattering.
He doesn't like the boss.
Yeah. He's probably got like 13. That's the wrong word. Accent. He's probably got about 13 sticks up his ass from what I hear.
Probably at least 6.
We've been trying to just steer clear of him.
Yeah.
Keep out of trouble.
Around these parts, it's kind of hard to do. The man's knighted. He's got some pull around here. I mean, to be frank, he is my superior, despite the fact we are both constables of each respective square. I know that he's locked down Founders Square, given the hubbub with the 13 and this prophet, he says. Was guffawing at the thought.
Nonsense. Peasant nonsense.
Aye. Peasant nonsense indeed, he says. Well, I'm just gonna shoot you straight. You're at the... What's the name of the chapter house again?
Cloakroom?
Cloak.
No, the chapter house.
Oh, the...
I've got it right here, in fact.
Vinci?
Yeah, look for it. You're at the La Vinci chapter house. Wondering about. Obviously, Brigandine came screaming about you trying to murder someone at the gate. Said one of you had said something about sticking their sword sideways up their arse so they didn't run away, or God knows. These men, they get things in their head, and they have a tendency to kind of go off on their own fairy tale and story. Bored in their own duty, I guess. Would you agree with this?
Yeah. Sounds about right.
I'm just looking at you.
No, I motioned towards Alistair.
Felt as much, he says. Takes another drink. The chapter house ain't got many people around those parts since the fire. A lot of that surrounding neighborhood had been cleared out after the library burned down some time ago.
I noticed it was awful quiet around there.
Ah, it is. Well, those buildings around there are on their last legs anyhow. Most of them, if they weren't threatened to be burned by fire, just were unsafe. It's been abandoned for quite some time. I suppose that the chapter house finds itself in a unique position to be in the city, but isolated enough to be away from all the shenanigans. Right?
Or prying eyes.
Or prying eyes. That's right. So, that's why I guess I'm asking you, what were you doing there? Because it seems a bit off tact from, as I understand it, your investigation into the Slavers' Ring.
Well, we were looking into the headmaster.
Felix Hausdorff, he says as he's looking down at the series of papers in front of him. Looking into the headmaster, eh? What would you have wanting to do with any old codger like him?
Well, we was hired by Exenstern, is that his name?
Nice.
We was hired by Exenstern in order to see if we could find out what was going on with Farik.
Haxenstern? He says, kind of incredulously.
And so we tried to investigate the Reek.
So Haxenstern, the Alloranite, hired you to look into the Reek.
Yes.
That's right of it.
What? You've been in this town for about a week or so now.
Right. So long and short of it, we go and we find out that.
How'd you get mixed up with the Baroness's man, Master Haxenstern? Let's start there.
Well, hello, Elisa.
Hi. Pleasure.
Thanks. I was actually told to speak to Hexenstone. Master Alexa, who I believe you've heard of.
Hi.
Alexa, he actually told me that he might be someone to speak to.
And he just bent this old astronomer's ear and he just told you look into the Reek?
He had concerns of it, yes, as I'm sure everyone did.
You might ask the young lady's last name, and that would probably tell you why she knows Hexenstern.
Must we? Marius.
Oh, the King's man. You're his daughter.
Hi.
Oh, forgive me, my lady, he says.
Do not.
Does that answer your question?
I suppose.
But I was asked to come and speak to Hexenstone. I came to speak to Hexenstone. He stated there was issues, and as you did, obviously the Reek has been something everyone's noticed.
Aye, that's true. I mean, I think most folk were just murmuring about it being something to do with a bunch of shite not picked up by the Night Soil Collective. Like they were going on strike or something, but we know the Night Soil folk aren't ones to go on strike. They're not the striking type. Not quite like, say, the Prophet. Say, the 13.
I believe you're alluding to something.
I'm not alluding to anything, I'm just telling you what it is here in the city. It's clear you came to Durendal unmanned, not knowing what you're getting into, not knowing about this city and the Baroness, the sun, the light of the stars. The importance of Durendal is to the rest of the kingdom.
Of course, that's known.
You all being sent here means something. That's why I'm asking questions. If only to satisfy my higher up. says.
We all got them.
Everybody's got a master, and Serlina just happens to be mine.
I like mine
Why
better.
isn't he the one asking questions?
Well, he's more of somebody who would rather use a broad axe than actually a needle to stitch a cloak together.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get to the heart of the situation. No, we share an affinity of sort.
Alright.
So our investigations had us led us to believe that the fellow at the chapter house may know something too about the reek. So we want to ask him some questions.
An old headmaster of a near abandoned chapter house in a half burned down part of the city.
Mm-hmm.
You think the stench was coming from there?
No, just that he may know something about it because, well, with all the education and whatnot.
Oh, so you're inquiring and making an inquiry in an educational perspective.
Well, that and we had some other evidence that may lead us to believe that
What other evidence?
we were told that he went to a place called the Lonely Island. That's where the old Arca house was.
Oh. That place is off limits. There's death
is.
there.
It is.
Sickness. Cursed place.
It is.
So he went there.
And we found out from someone that said that he'd taken him there. And so, because he'd taken him there, we wanted to ask him some questions.
Any man or woman who would take anyone to that island knowing that it's forbidden like to get thrown in the clink for a few days to remind them that laws have to be obeyed. And not just our laws, the Baroness's laws.
Well, at this point, if you'd like to take him in, I don't think he'd fight.
Professor Halfdor.
Right.
Well, that's the point I'm driving to, I suppose.
I assumed.
Here you find yourself in the chapter house, and old Felix just finds him. We come in and find him lying face first in his own blood.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
You saw his laboratory.
Well, I saw, but I'm asking you.
Man obviously had a guilty conscience.
Guilty conscience over what?
Something enough to write, I'm sorry, thousands of times upon the wall.
Burning down a library, maybe, I don't know.
I think he had a played a part in it, and had some regret in it. I don't know how or what.
You burned down a library from 3 years ago?
I don't know.
Well,
He lost his school, too.
he thought he was responsible for it.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Try that every time. He thought he was responsible for the fire from 3 years ago.
Aye, that and the reek.
He thought he was responsible for the reek. In what way? How can a man be responsible for a bunch of shit not getting picked up in the street?
Well,
Well, you know the reek wasn't that.
It wasn't what?
You know it wasn't the Night Seal. You just said it yourself.
That's what people are saying.
But you know, just as we know, that the Night Seal Collective makes their money from the shit. So
How
why
does
would they not pick up the shit? Man's got to eat. Maybe you.
Give me a paper towel, please. Aye, they do. North South Collective.
We know they don't, like you said. You know they don't stop work.
You know how many people live in Durendal? Mr. Banneker?
Can't see it.
I don't, and I don't truly see the point in that. But go ahead. You know, you're the one asking the questions.
45,000 souls.
That's a lot of shit. Is that what you're trying to say here?
There's a lot of shite. Shite comes in,
Shite goes
food
out.
comes in, shite goes out. Shite goes out the city into the Night Soul Collective. There's a night when the Shite didn't go out. That was on Penumbra. So it wouldn't be too far-fetched to believe that a day lax in their duties in the Night Soil Collective, the Shite might pile up and stank a bit. And maybe an ill wind comes from the north and blows it back into the city. God's knows Penumbra was fucking weird enough. A lot of people are on edge.
Right.
So to answer your question, Mr. Banneker, frankly, I don't know where the reek came from. I don't know if it was an ISO collective or not.
Surely they can make it for last time. They missed one day. Come on.
But the beauty is that
Well, I can tell you for sure it wasn't.
well, you think it was Hausdorff.
I don't think it. The boss thinks it was Hostor.
What do you think?
I think this poor food that I've been eating in your 45,000 people city has given me bubble gut. I've been under the weather. And if I'm going to be honest, remember you picked me up on the way here from the inn.
Well, to be fair, the cloakroom will give you hot snakes if you eat the eel.
I can't stay away from the eel, though.
Comes out
it's
like
so
hot snake.
delicate. But
So that
no.
lady doesn't love
So
me.
I don't know. I mean, I know what these men were trying to do, and we've met Black and we've met the Knights Collective, and they seem like stand-up fellows. I mean, sure, they're from up north, and they're a little libertarian, but, you know, we got one of those with us, and he seems fine.
Look, I'm not trying to get up your craw or to put a bee in your bonnet or whatever they say, cross a river, but I'm trying to help. And part of that is just trying to understand the situation so I can give help where I can. I understand and respect the agency, your connection to the king, your role in investigation. Not all people, including some that I report up to, believe that the same. Their concerns are both parochial, if you will.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm a bit hesitant. It's because I know it's going to go to Leland.
Well,
He's got an art on, but it isn't for the right reasons.
well, the man is transparent. I'll tell you this. He's not a complicated man. He's a man given to power, who was knighted, not by the Baroness, but by the Duke who came before her. God rest Duke Van Steltenthorn's soul. But no less, the man is simple. There is nothing conniving about him. That's not the same for the rest of the folk in Dol of Durendal, particularly those close to the Baroness.
So what's his aim? What does he want from us?
He don't want no more. He don't want any deaths in the city. That's what he doesn't want. But in his eyes,
How the hell can we be playing for every death that goes on in this city of 45,000
Why
people?
why is the plane
do you
laying
think
our
murder
feet?
just happens in the streets every day? Is that the way it is in the West? Because it's not here.
You have
We-
45,000 people and you say no one dies.
Of course, people die, but there ain't no murder in the streets. There ain't no
What?
people die in wars. They don't just die in the streets of the city.
We watched Ferrosimis drowned a man in a wagon full of shit right in front of us, and the
Well,
brigandine did nothing
to be fair,
in his district.
We watched a corpse dragged up to us, festooned up like it had tattoos so that they could claim some kind of bounty. And you want to say that this one death from this man who was obviously disturbed is somehow our fault?
I'm not
Because
saying
we
that,
were in the vicinity.
milady, I'm not saying it's your fault. And let's address one question at a time. Everything has changed since Penumbra. Things have been right queer. This is not a town where people just die in the middle of the fucking street. We live in a town of lores, and the love for the Baroness has kept the people at peace for some time, ever since the war. We've lived in relative peace. This is not something that happens every day. I don't know how things are outside of Durendal, where you all come from, but people just don't end up dead at the end of swords, or throwing themselves off of banisters, and this doesn't happen.
And I'm not saying it's your fault. What I'm saying is Penumbra's done something strange, right strange. And I know that Dufresne wouldn't be here if that wasn't true.
Well, if our history will mean anything, I told you exactly what happened to that man who was stealing children.
You need not justify that again.
Right.
I'm just telling you.
No, I'm just...
This is not normal.
I'm using this to set a precedent. I told you, straight up. And I'm telling you, straight up, this man went and jumped.
Well, I have no doubt about that. There's no reason to lie to me.
Yeah. He felt guilty because he believed that he was the one that brought upon the Greek. And that much he did say to us. And he was thinking that he did wrong, that he can't fix it. And, well, he decided to martyr himself because he thought that would fix it.
Alright. Well, I'll give that to Sir Leyland and let him parse through it. I suspect he may have another line of inquiry, but as far as I see it, there ain't nothing much else to say. It's not my job to judge you, and frankly, I don't know who would potentially have that power anyway.
So you're saying that he wouldn't have that power to judge us?
Well, you've got the favor of Hexenstern, so that means a lot in this city. I don't know what arrangement you have with them or what connection, but...
So what do you think happened? Well, I'm curious.
Blazes if I know. This place is just damn queer for the past week and a half.
I actually thought this was normal for you. And I was thinking this place was just crazy.
But Durandal is... We have our conflicts, certainly. And sometimes it comes to fists. But unlike the stories you may read in the West, nobody's fighting in bars and murdering each other with swords. That's for Old Lork. That's for the criminals out there on the Cauldron Lake. Nothing like that here. We live a peaceable life beneath the eyes of the Covenant. And we have the love of the Baroness, which means more than anything else in the world. We live outside the rest of the kingdom.
But you can see from our point of view, right, that all we've seen is this city that you're talking about. The city of chaos, where children are getting stolen in the middle of the night. Slavers are trying to take ships full of children down streets, or and then people are being drugged in front of us.
Racketeering.
What is racketeering?
It's where you say, hey, we's going to protect you.
Ah, yeah, we saw some of that too. Crazy people on fucking barrels of fire, speaking about blowing places up. This does not sound like a normal God-abiding town. This sounds like Crazyville.
Remember when I told you about we've got 45,000 souls in Durandal?
Well, yeah.
Let me count the number of brigandine in the city. 75. 75 soldiers to keep the city safe. And our numbers have dwindled over time. The Duke put us in place almost a decade ago, and our numbers were far stronger because all of the Girdle was lawless. Since his passing and the rise of Genevieve, peace has come. A need has come in the north for us. And we've gained the benefit of that financially. But what do you do with soldiers in a place that's peaceable?
Rich soldiers retired.
Bored soldiers brigand. They don't brigand around here, these parts. Our numbers have dwindled. And these things that are happening are not being overlooked by brigandine. In truth, I think we're taxed a bit by all of this. So when I say, trust me, the city is not like this normally. You've come at a very strange time. And I'm hoping that you can at least get to the bottom of something. But regardless, my inquiry is over. You have the favor of Hexenstern, and that means a lot in this city. He's perhaps the closest to the Baroness.
Appreciate your time, and sorry to lay another body at your feet. But I had none to me.
If there could be a favor done, could you at least say that our weapons stayed peace-tied when this man decided to take his own life, so that Leland maybe knows that we've actually stuck to what we promised him?
Well, everything that you sound will put in my record.
All you gotta do is look at the body. Ain't a single sword wound on him.
Still.
I mean, if we were able to lay a hand on him, we would have kept him from jumping.
I have no doubt about that. But most people aren't as scientific as you and I.
Well, that just seems like
And some
common
people
sense.
just don't care whether it's true or not.
Just appreciate the opportunity to not have to prove once again that we don't have a want to start some kind of chaos in this place.
Seems like
Much more the other. Trying to figure these things out.
People in Durandal are a strangely superstitious lot.
seems like a good reason.
This ain't normal, I'll tell you that. Nonetheless, I'm not detaining you. You're free to go about as your business you like in the city.
Well,
As you need be. I know that Hexenstern has went to the chapter house and he's doing his own kind of investigation after all this unfortunate happenings to the headmaster. But I've got everything that I need.
alright.
He closes the leather book.
Oh, have a good day, Rag.
Well, we'll be at
Appreciate
the
your time.
cloakroom if you need us.
I'll be around here. You know where to find me. And with that, you leave. Right. You leave his. The tower of the Brigandine. You head out into the city.
They ain't seen much war.
No.
You know how many of my friends have taken their own life after seeing the heat of battle?
I couldn't say.
It's a lot.
Well, let's be honest, even if they had seen that at some point, if this Leland wants to start something, he will start it.
Let him come.
Messiah Square is busy with traffic back and forth. It is mid-morning.
What do we do now?
I suppose we should,
We wait for Hexenstern and collect our bounty on the Reek and wait for the next.
next assignment. Yeah. I believe that we'll have more of a sense of direction once we speak with Hexenstern.
Well, the direction I'm going to take is to a bath and do a launder.
That's a good direction.
We can do that here.
What if? Do we not follow our own path? We'll wait for Hexenstern.
Well, he does have a reward for us at the very minimum.
Right. And do you have a path in mind?
Well, I'm not the thinker, boss. You are. Well, she is.
Do we still have
No,
the
I'm not-
Headmaster's key?
Yes.
I'm not.
I want to find a river and find a way for that to sink.
You can toss it in the Bastards River easily from here. The waterfront's not far.
That was our evidence to lead to us investigating.
I won't do it unless, like, I will indicate the idea.
Why?
He's seen it.
Hey, wait a minute.
He knows we have it. This is evidence. This is the key.
Yeah.
If Leland finds this on us,
Leland,
I don't know what he's gonna say, but
I don't think it looks good.
it doesn't look
Well-
good. I see what you're doing.
Leland will draw his own conclusions. And yeah, he may find the key on us, but he can't prove that we had it before all of this happened.
So that's our defense, is that the key magically appeared in a fucking pocket.
No, if we
Throw
get
the damn thing away.
questioned further,
What does the key give us?
Possibility to investigate that room further.
Well, that key was, if we lean on the truth, that key was what led us to go and question him in the first place. I just was glossing over the details.
And
Right. No, I got the reason that we drove to the headmasters.
are you under the assumption
House,
that they
yeah.
could find this? I can make it so they can't.
And that was what I was about to say. Is there just a way that we can just?
There are pockets that sometimes can't be opened, except for if you know how. I can make sure it's not found, if that's what your biggest worry is.
That's up to you.
It is what she doth proclaim.
I don't even know how to answer that, but I would like to see said pocket.
It's your fucking key.
Yeah.
This has become very troubling when we are all co-workers.
I
So,
just don't understand. I don't understand why we need the fucking thing.
I don't either. That's why I'm
Well, what if
I
we
was
wish to
asking.
go back and look at the quarters again? There was those mechanical things that we didn't quite get a chance to look at. There was notes we didn't get a chance to look at.
But if we go back, isn't that the whole?
Yeah, let's return to the scene.
didn't he say?
Yeah. The old detective novels. Return to the scene of the crime.
Didn't
You know what I'm talking about.
Didn't he say that Exenstern was actually in the academy?
Well, this... You mean the Da Vinci one?
Yeah.
Right.
No.
He's currently there investigating the
No.
strange scribblings.
I thought he went to the island. That's what Wright just said.
No, he
Yeah.
said he went to the Da Vinci Chapter House.
Oh.
He said
So-
no one goes to the island.
So we could
It's forbidden.
we could take it to him and we could give it to him there. We just got to make sure that we get it in there unnoticed.
And that gets us an excuse to go back and check if we would like to check that room then.
Yeah, we need to. We heard that.
Pass her the key. She's got,
We hand it over to him.
as the boys like to say,
He knows we have
magic.
it anyway. Just give it to him. We don't need any more.
Sometimes my gender allows things, yes.
Well, our brain trust of wisdom over here likes to call a lot of things magic, so that was just my joke.
Listen.
Hey,
Firearms, magic. No, they're just fire.
well, that's wizardry. It's
Alright.
different than magic.
Alright then, well, if you would like, we can get the key unnoticed.
Yeah, that's all I want. I don't want any more details. So, on that note, yes, I understand that wands and power shot are not actual casting of spells. It's what? It's
Did you WOT that?
it's something that us lower folk say because it's like it's the difference between saying my lord and me lord, except it's just different words for different things.
Because it's beyond explaining.
Yeah. Now I understand that you take a hunk of metal and you shape it into a bowl, and then you cram that bowl down there with a bit of power shot, and by lighting it, it sends it out there. I get it. I don't know how it sends it out there, but I know that it does.
Right.
But
It's a euphemism.
Yeah. It's like this.
I do believe this conversation is leading itself down quite a path.
What
that
I'm
may-
saying is,
She's going to report to. Everybody's going to report to HR at this point.
Yeah.
what
Everybody's
I'm
got
in-
to
I-
go.
that's
I'm gonna go
understood.
get a bath and-
What
and-
is-
Don't
I
stop on the wrong
My
floors.
clothes.
Don't stop
I'm
on the
talking,
wrong
Alright.
I have a
talking
missive
about,
in my backpack for sensitivity training if you would all like to join
I'm
me.
talking about bullets.
There's an Alistair for sensitivity training. Torture. It's wrong.
Are you feeling it?
The one, the one
Switch
we're
your
here for,
sensitivity up.
anyway.
So what I'm saying is, yes, I know that you fire a gun. I know. Or
All right, boss. I mean, there was no offense, you know. I mean, I called him Plebitorian for that, and he reacted
Right.
none the same.
now,
Where do we go with all this?
No way.
Right.
Are we going to
This
see
is the point.
Hexenstern or not?
Go and take a shower. Take a bath.
I mean, I would love to actually go launder and everything, but if we want a chance to go look at this place again, if he's there and they know that we have him as a contact now, it's not the worst idea to go see him, if we will.
Yeah, we're getting payment.
And we get to look around.
I mean, what's there to see? It's just an old laboratory, nothing there.
Well, some of us don't believe Pyre Shot is magic.
There's nothing there unless you have a warlock there to tell you what it is.
Right.
And the warlock's there.
I see.
Well, I
See what I
mean,
was doing
I'm just
before you got
saying,
here?
we figured the reek out. We got the thing done.
Why
Why even bother looking in it anymore? Who cares? It's over.
I mean, ain't none of us can be able to make heads or tail of it, even if we did have the time to look at it.
Well,
I can't hardly figure out what went
that
wrong,
might
but
not
it's
be
gone.
right.
It's over.
I personally
It's
would
good
not
enough
like
for
to
me.
return to that scene.
Well, again, there is a difference between us.
There's a nicety to the simplicity
I
of
have
your
to admire the
investigation.
guts of doing it the next day.
Huh?
That show, I have to admire the guts of wanting to do it the very next day. Just
Well, if he's
return
there,
back.
then we can go under the conspiratorial, task that she's laid out.
If we were to show up by ourselves, it probably looks far more guilty than, oh, we're going to see our contact that we were told is there.
Ah,
Yeah, that and our
Right.
contact has our payment, and if we think our assignment's over after this, we're
Most
fools.
likely.
So to be
not.
fair, do
So-
you keep a lot of gold on you at all times?
No,
You think he's got it there?
no, but
Alright, I'm just curious.
at least he has something, or we can actually arrange a time instead of waiting around, hoping he's there.
Why don't we just send him a message? Have him meet us somewhere.
If I must ask then, those that don't wish to actually go back to the college, what would you like to do with our time?
They're sick of recouping
Having an ale,
rest.
Say a few words to the gods.
Nah.
Alright, well if you feel the need to do that, you could go do that, and those of us who have an interest in checking more thoroughly could go do that.
sounds
If you-
good to me.
So who's one to go back to the cloak room?
Mm-hmm.
Harper will raise his hand.
Yep.
You can go.
Alright.
Well, tell me twice. Let's go.
So who's going to convalesce and who's going back to the scene of the crime?
We're going to convalesce.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to.
Die.
The
And those who
view.
leave
Yeah.
will gain 1 corruption.
Good
This
choice,
is
Nick.
you.
The
Yay.
3 of you who go back to the cloakroom may rest and see to clean laundering and cleansing and stuff. Spend pay 3 brass pennies for laundering and a meal.
Give me my last
Actually-
treatment for my eye, because I'm on day 7 now.
Actually, Elisa would ask that her secondary clothes be thrown into the laundry with your guys' stuff, if you wouldn't mind.
You
She
just
does
carry
have 2
multiple
sets.
sets of clothes on you?
She has 2 sets of clothes,
I'm
yeah.
rolling for his
Routine.
Routine.
Alright.
Deal.
Can I use my cruelty?
I'll even give you an extra penny.
64
Delivery
checks.
fee.
Succeed.
Great.
And that
This
is
job.
success. This is for the
You paid me
56.
more money so
Nice.
far than this one.
You got treatment today.
Yeah.
Your professional trade do anything weird?
This is not a disease, is it?
It was.
It is.
Okay.
It's not a critical success.
Right.
I said I wouldn't be able to make any sense of it.
When you successfully treat disease, crit succeed
Oh, okay.
instead. When you crit succeed, you
Find out.
withstand. Okay.
pretty excited to go see it.
So it was a critical success to treat it.
That's right. So nothing for you. It's when you critically succeed to resist a disease.
Oh, but it says when you successfully treat disease, you crit succeed instead.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was
So-
the last day of treatment anyway, so
You
hey,
want
my
to
eye's healed.
expend your
Okay.
your reagents in that case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, you can hold on to it for the next time.
So those who go back to the Levinci chapter house, which is not far from here, about midday you'll arrive. It's sometime toward, the sky is growing a little dark, a little windy, quiet, save for the distant gathering storm. There is a storm about to settle over the city, which would not be unusual in this season. It is toward the latter part of November now, and it's growing not only just more brisk, but it's getting colder out in general, so the rain will be uncomfortable. It's outside of November rain. November rain!
It's cold.
I don't know if you listen to any of our stuff, but like, there are no less than like 10 songs that we end up like sounding out or talking about every episode.
Oh, what?
Usually it's
Our
Metallica,
episodes, even as
though.
episodes, it's like somebody's always singing a song or some song reference.
Jonah is the other one.
Yeah.
He's very well.
So you come to the Da Vinci Chapter House, and as you're approaching amid the ruin, the abandoned city, you can see the chapter house kind of rise above its cold stone wall, kind of surrounding it. And remember, it's almost kind of fashioned a little bit like a fortified mansion, with a central donjon, a central building that appears impenetrable, save for the fact that it appears to be heavily fire damaged in one wing. Upon approach, you can see that there are about 4 brigandine soldiers actually outside the gates, actively patrolling. And even before you kind of step into the main road, one of them kind of quickly kind of sees you coming.
We'll go right. I'll go right for it.
Yeah.
Is one of them Leland?
No, you can't see from this distance.
For the man, yeah, I'll walk straight towards the man approach.
None of them are Leland, because this is not Leland's district. But these brigandine soldiers appear to be far more attentive than the ones who were previously here. Good afternoon,
You mean
he
Paul
says.
Blart?
There's a little bit of, there's kind of, at this point, there's a little bit of rain kind of pitter-pattering off the top of his conical helmet.
Good afternoon.
Dude,
We were told Hexenstone. That's...
Careful, do not say his name aloud, lest you summon him.
Ah!
He says.
Nice one.
He looks serious, he looks very serious when he says
Well
this.
then, yes. Hexenstein! We heard Hexenstein was inside and we went up.
That old mad mage? He's inside, but he said no one's allowed in.
Can you have one of your men run in and tell him that his contacts are here?
Not my business to go questioning the whims and wills of wizards.
Wizards? Why do we keep hearing this so much today?
It does seem the word of the day, yes.
Wizards, warlocks, wands. Just heard some oddities today. Nothing on you, sir.
The sorcerer is of a saucy temperament today. Very tempestuous. Brought the storm with him, he did.
Ah, yeah.
Oh, he's that type. Well, that's...
Well,
We happen to be working for him, and he asked us to speak to him.
Okay, so at this point, one of you may attempt a charm test,
I'll try
Oh,
that.
only one of us?
but you have if either of you have a skill rank, you can
Oh, I
assist.
have a skill. I will assist.
Yeah.
Is he outside of my social class? I already know he is. So.
He
I already
is.
know.
He's not the aristocrat, right?
And this is going to be, and because the situation is a little different, it's going to be an arduous charm test.
An arduous
Yes.
charm test. Okay.
Luck.
He's not likely to gain bond.
he doesn't want to
Okay,
cross the
I
wizard.
He
still
is
have
predisposed
a
against wanting to do what you want.
40% chance.
Nice.
47% chance. And that. Oh wait, are we doing this thing tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You want
let's
to try to
try
reroll?
this.
Caligula
Yeah.
coin.
Nice. Caligula coin.
Incrit fail.
Are they? Oh my God, you're right there,
It
Caligula
looks
coin.
exactly like the cover of Caligula.
It does.
And I crit succeeded actually.
Ooh.
Thank you.
Well, he says.
44.
My chaos dice.
He kind of looks back and forth for a moment.
Oh, he heard us.
You want to go tempt a wizard, then by all means go inside. He steps to the side. Men step to the side. Let him go in. Let him go in. They kind of look back toward the stone building and toward you, and as you're walking away, they're kind of murmuring and shaking their heads.
Have a good day, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thanks.
You come inside the building,
Can I have
and it is...
a crit succeed?
Yeah, not bad, huh?
Good job, guys.
Good job, guys. Good job.
The place appears to be almost nearly empty, as before. Quiet as a crypt. Save for the lamps that have clearly been lit in Hexenstern's wake. The place is dark, and the shadows are kind of pulling at the light almost, it seems like. This place is large, and open and almost feels like a large dank crypt. As you're wandering the halls, you can hear boot falls kind of echoing upon the wood, and eventually you find your way to Professor Halfstorf's tower, and you have the key in hand.
No.
Is he, we not seen Hexenster?
No.
We'll knock first.
You knock on the door, and
You know his middle name.
there's no sound.
Middle.
Yeah.
You mean his first name?
Sure.
Rasputin.
Tiberius. Hexenster. I have no idea.
You hear 311
I
coming
was,
from
you know,
outside.
Master Hexenstone is probably the best way to go about it. So.
well, I just hope it's not able. That's all I'm saying.
What's in a name? It's a word.
I just forget I said anything.
Is this more of the tuck the chicken under your arm and spin 4 times under the full moon thing?
No, it's more. How the man had a penchant for modernism or something. He said that a man named Abel kept talking to him and telling him to do bad things.
Oh, no, not the same person.
So,
He also mentioned that Abel was not from the same place that Hexenstone is from, if you don't recall. Hexenstone didn't exactly have blue silver eyes and blonde hair.
oh yeah.
Well, what do you think about opening up and giving a box to see if he's in there?
So he no answer to the knock.
Is the door locked?
No, I mean, look, what's on the
The
other
door
side?
is locked.
The way you looked at me.
That was a cop knock.
Yeah, that was,
The large, heavy metal door
Sir,
rings
ma'am.
with sound, but there is no response.
I say, open it and, I'll give it a yell, and if he doesn't answer, then I guess we go look for him somewhere else in the facilities here.
Will you
He does
unlock
know
and
we
open
had
the
a
door?
key. We told him, so...
Yeah, I mean.
At this point, you've had no chance to talk to Hexenstern.
No, we showed it to him.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah,
That's
the
right.
key
So
in
he
the-
would
That's
know.
right, you're absolutely right. Will you open the door?
I don't see any difference, so yes, let's,
got a bad feeling about this.
You're gonna get it.
Oh, yeah.
The door opens up.
I gotta go with my chaos. I got a bunch last time.
Master
Yep.
Hexen's done.
You hear this sound coming from within. This low, strange, weird sound. The machine inside is making some sort of noise. Whirring and clicking and grinding. The stairs seem to fold upon one another, over and over and over. As you begin to ascend the stairs, you feel this strange sense of vertigo. All you need to attempt a routine awareness test.
Oh, not again.
With all the mirrors affixed on the inside walls and uncertainty about where the stairs begin and end, this
61.
61.
52 and I failed.
where we roll. No?
You know what? I'll go for it. Why not?
Okay, I'll take that misfortune.
15 will do it.
Okay. Those who fail will gain 7 mental peril, as you are perplexed by the strangeness of these stairs, almost like an like an Escher painting. They kind of seem to fold upon one another in inexplicable ways. The geometry makes no sense. And paired with the mirrors that are really lining the interior of this tower all the way up the stairwell, it kind of makes you even more queasy as you ascend. And then you come inside to his chambers, to Hofstorf's chambers. And as you step inside,
I mean, I planned on keep saying his name, but
yes, you You are saying his name.
You are saying.
You can see this strange green light reflecting off of the mirrors. And there is this shadow kind of stretching across the floor, clearly of Hexenstern. And you can see that he is, where the table was kind of flipped over, where Hausdorff kind of threw everything off on the second level. He's filtering through papers, and you can hear this low murmuring sound to him, almost like a weird kind of humming of different vocals and consonants.
Does it sound like a melody?
Hello? Hello?
Master Hexenstern?
You see, leaning over the banister, you see the aging Gothric man. Oh, hello! I was not expecting you to be here. Fräulein Elisa, I'll be down in just one moment. Very sorry.
No need for apologies. We didn't have a chance to really check this area too much.
He descends the stairs.
Thought we could assist you since you happened to be looking.
Oh. I was hoping we would have the opportunity to speak tonight after I'd had the chance to filter through Professor Hofstorff's things.
Well, considering first-hand information is obviously the best source, we thought it might be possible that we would be of some assistance.
I think in this manner, he says as he looks toward the walls and the strange kind of mechanics that seem to whir and click and whistle and buzz all around you.
Were they on the first time?
They were, yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought you guys had said that.
Yeah, they were.
Truth be told, there is weeks and weeks of investigation that could be done here. I have procured Professor Hofstorff's personal diary, he says as he picks up a very large, thick, voluminous,
Do you need his Zweihänder?
red
Do you need,
book. I have found his personal recordings, which I believe will contain at least the information that I need to understand what his studies were going on here, and perhaps any connection he has to Zerik. But it will take weeks, he says. Weeks!
Yes,
He clutches the book tightly.
I would assume some kind of codex would not be an immediate answer, but...
Well, it just so happens. It is not a red herring. This is his handwriting. It is strange. He says, come look. He invites you all over.
Alright.
As you look at it, there's something you can't quite put your finger on as you're looking at the writing. Mr. Banica, if you would, please bring a mirror over here.
I'll bring the mirror over.
Do any of you read Ancient Old?
Do I?
This is on your character sheet.
I have all done my character sheet, but not ancient.
No.
At first, the writing looks as if it's perhaps familiar, but you cannot suss it out. But when you place it in front of a mirror, you can see the man was writing from right to left in Ancient Old backwards.
So he was trying to hide something.
Well, I would hide, certainly. This is a common practice amongst Eloranites. Eloranites, in order to ensure that their personal journals and findings are not seen by their peers, that their studies are not stolen by other Eloranites, they will write from the right side to the left side of the page, from the bottom to the top. It is an old trick that we are taught in the Eloranite schools. Old, I should note, not something that modern Eloranites would practice. One could determine from that Professor Hausdorff has certainly learned the Eloranite arts.
But he was not an Warknight, was he?
Precisely. He closes the book. Everything that is written in here is written in the hand of an Eloranite. backwards, and it will take weeks to understand. At first when I saw it, I was like, this looks so familiar.
Are you sure it's his hand?
Without a doubt, he kind of comes over and kind of procures some papers. These are papers that these are just a simple ledger of cash spent for sundries for the school. Written in his hand, clearly. And it matches, albeit in a different language.
Yeah, it looks the same. Yeah.
Yes.
So, I am certain you can understand that I will have... it will take some time to unwind all of this.
Of course.
So you thinking he was once at a law night?
When one becomes an Allure Knight, was not suddenly stop being an Allure Knight.
Oh.
But I will say
Then
that
fall from grace?
among the Allure Knights,
Yeah, I mean, because aren't they religiously typed? They're just with the learner.
well, they are preachers of a sort, more of religious scholars, monks, if you will. In fact, many of the illuminated books that we have in our libraries have been penned at some point or another by an acolyte of the Allure Knights. They are scholars and keepers of knowledge, certainly, but to those who have fallen from grace, very strange indeed. I cannot imagine.
Could be, though, that someone else who was an Allure Knight, or was trained by an Allure Knight, also trained him.
It is certainly possible.
But you say this is an older practice, not one currently used.
That is right. One thing that,
As old as the island?
well, a practice that is old to the second age, so older. But what is strange, the first thing that came to me when I was looking toward the latter part of the entries is I see mention of this figure, perhaps in his mind, a man named Abel.
Yes.
I am wondering if he's an Allure Knight. There's a lot of information in here about halfway through that speaks of this Abel. No correspondences that I have found from him, however, Master Professor Hofstorff believes that this Abel can see into his mind and speaks of him often. Perhaps a figment of his imagination, perhaps an Allure Knight teacher. I cannot say for certain.
I mean, when my grandmother, when she was close to death, I mean, she kept calling me, Dismas, my father's name.
I think the machine is having a
I
problem.
think your Tesla coil is...
You put popcorn kernels in the garbage disposal.
He looks over.
Maybe
Yes.
we should shut that particular machine off.
Well, it is not time to turn off the difference engine. It is running calculations. He looks toward it. It is a strange cacophony. It almost looks like a pipe organ from a church. But you can see it spitting out this long ticker tape of paper that's just gathering in ribbons on the floor. And it's printed on this very thin, hammered out lead. The engine is still running and is producing calculations according to my studies. I'm afraid I cannot turn it off yet it will undo my entire understanding of what has happened here. He's looking toward this huge, inexplicable looking thing that does look like, literally, it looks like a pipe organ. But there are no keys.
Calculations. Something other than a person doing calculations.
Mathematics, science,
Yes.
technology.
As
Putting a screwdriver.
No.
as Terwin is just eyeing Elisa down, like, I told you.
Told you he was a wizard.
It is an arcane engine. It is a long story, but I'll not bore you with the details. Despite that, the difference
At
engine...
some point, I would love for you to bore me with the details of this particular machine.
This is a difference engine. It calculates that which is here and which is not.
You see, I heard one word that explains it all. Arcane.
To put it plainly, when one has a bushel of apples,
Chicken.
how many apples are in a bushel?
It depends on their size.
Call it 37.
Depends on the merchant.
Oh goodness, come on. If you were to take away one apple, you have 36 apples.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So how do you calculate bushels of apples, oranges, lemons, other imports, the number of ships in the city, the passing of the Vend, how much shite has been pulled across the city, how many times a woman has rocked her baby to sleep? All these different questions can be collated in a difference engine to understand the greater things. When one pulls away and strips away the confusion, the difference is the truth. That is what this thing does. It takes a series of complicated equations and produces an answer.
It's got a lot of abacuses in it.
In a sense, yes.
Abakai.
What's that? This is a day. All the brothers. Nonetheless, that is what the difference that it is, and that's what I'm running here.
Alright.
Can I just ask? That is fascinating. Whatever that is, and yeah, fascinating. Why is the reed gone? Did his death? Was he producing the reed?
That is a good question.
That-
I had hoping to speak about that with you this evening after my calculations are complete.
Well then if I'm being presumptuous and taking your time, then
So he's interrupted.
maybe we meet later.
I don't have my answers yet, but I believe within 9 hours, the difference engine will produce the result I am looking for.
Alright. Think you there anything else we should be looking at? Have you looked in the classrooms? Did they wipe clean the boards before they left?
I have not finished my investigations, but I did order the brigandine to keep this place locked down. I have dismissed the students of my own accord.
I would suggest that some of those rooms, if they still have the writings upon the boards, which, with as much research as appears to have been put into those particular lessons, you might want to check. And she pulls out her book and shows him
My lady,
some of the things.
we are of the same wavelength.
Yes.
I, too, have put that calculation into the difference engine. All of these strings that need to be woven back together, that is what this will produce.
You know,
I will have my answer.
yeah, in nine stones turns, right?
Yes!
So, you know what that tells me?
We should go back and leave him to his calculations. Or
No.
it to his calculations?
No.
Then what?
I mean, if he needs us to stop talking to him, that's one thing. But that's 9 hours. That if this able fellow isn't a figment of imagination.
For him to do something.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Do you know if any Volstanian elders or anything were taken from or led out of school?
Admittedly, my lady, I was a part of the Arkwright chapter house, which our studies were less, shall we say, scholarly.
I think she means
Here.
out of the student body and the faculty.
Out of the people taken from here.
Was there any of them that were Wolf-Stanian?
I am not.
Elderly sold.
I have not yet checked the rolls. However, I have gathered the necessary material. Perhaps you would take the books with you and do your own looking? Yeah.
There we go. Something we can do.
I am perfectly fine with that particular.
Here you go.
he pulls together like this huge stack of books. This is the first. And this is the older rolls. Now be careful. These papers are very old and may fall apart on you.
I've worked with similar.
Treat them with kitten's paws, as they say. Wait. Kid gloves,
That-
as you say here in the north.
Kittens' claws. Kittens have claws.
Kitten's paws that are claws.
What do you get?
I'm...
Instead, suede gloves. That's what it means.
Well...
Yes.
Perhaps we will see each other this evening. It is not If you are reading your holy canon like I have if you are reading your Decalogue of Tenets as I have instructed you to do so, you will know that today is not a holy day. So I shall be at the cloakroom.
Of course. Yes. However, I was led to believe that Abel is a Wolstanian man that was here. So...
Well, perhaps that will give you more fodder for your investigation in this great number of logs of students who have attended the Da Vinci Chapter House. Yeah?
Yes, I will look. However, it's just something for you to also keep in mind should you see any of the student party or anything along those lines.
I saw no Wolstanians, but it's not like you can readily identify a Wolstanian in a crowd.
Ah,
Elder, also,
there.
is what I
might be
assume.
wrong. I have a nose for these things.
Ah,
You could...
well,
Who knows? Does it actually work?
Thought you couldn't smell.
It did.
a metaphorical nose.
Yes.
Your analogy falls on deaf ears.
But perhaps you will be useful in sniffing out whether one of these names in the books is Wolstanian then.
No, it's a visual thing. It's a visual
I-
thing.
Well, one does
I know
not
when
smell a
people-
book, so I think you're in luck. You'll use your eyes.
Ah, it's usually that I know people are lower than me and of a different sect. If you know what I'm saying.
I do believe the analogies have grown stale. Why don't we just go? Yes?
Well, I shall see you at the cloakroom. Yeah?
Yes.
Good morrow, he says. You leave and return to the cloakroom. It's growing toward night. We'll assume at this point.
Books.
Check them out.
Anybody who can read.
These Trader Joe's lollipops are the best things in the world.
Commercial break. So
Not
you are at you're back at the cloakroom. You join everyone else. Sun has set. It's fairly quiet in here tonight, actually. One could say it may be the Bard's Day Off if you listen to Sirenscape, which we are playing on our podcast and live play.
Thank you, Sirenscape.
Thank you, Sirenscape.
We need to take a break for commercials. We do that now?
You come. That's right. So you come back to
Somewhat
there, and there's quite a few people in here, but it's mostly quiet, at least until a minstrel begins to play something.
I thought it was his day off. Okay, it is. We're good.
So, shall you take the older and I'll take the newer?
It's fine. I do have my gloves. So that I can keep the oil from my hands from staining. So.
I ain't much for one for reading, otherwise I'd help.
It's fine. I'm used to this. She lights a candle off to the side. Puts a glass over it to make sure the sparks don't get to the paper.
Let's assume you're probably in the main room at this point. There's not enough people really. There's no prying eyes in here, is what I'm saying, in the cloakroom. A lot of people you have a private booth, essentially.
She is taking great care with it, though.
You all sit down in front of this pile of books. We can tell your story.
So,
So anyways, I'm going to be nervous until we walk through that door.
we were right. He's one of them.
What?
He's one of them warlocks, right?
Hey, he's a warlock.
All right, yeah. See, we were right.
Like the band Warlock.
Yeah. I mean,
What did he tell you?
that the machine was arcane.
Machine?
I don't know what a machine is, but I know it's arcane.
Right, okay.
It's good at making people resolve their differences.
What? No. No?
It's
No?
a difference machine.
Argument machine?
You know what? Yes. Yes, that...
It's an indifference machine, doesn't
I mean,
care.
it's for when
Cares not
It's
for
a
you.
it's
friendship
for when
machine.
it's when you're an apple short of a full bushel.
Some kind of wizardry device thing?
Warlock.
Warlock
Something
thing?
like you're a few marbles short.
Yeah, I mean, wizards
So
are...
he's using old professor's pipe organ thingy.
Yeah,
Oh, that's what
yeah.
that thing
It's
is.
got a lot of abakai in it.
Oh. That's pretty fancy.
I don't believe any of that, but Just to let you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, if that is how you have to explain things, you explain them.
Hey.
Whirring and running and just spitting out paper.
All kinds of beads.
Alright.
There's a lot of things I didn't believe until about a week ago.
So he's doing his
Finding that I
thing.
can expand my
You
mind
guys are
pretty
doing yours.
successfully in times like this.
So we need to keep an eye out
Makes
for
sense.
him. This queasy feeling in my stomach will go away when he comes walking in that door.
Ever since Penumbra, all of you felt kind of strange. This isn't. None of this really seems right, and things are happening in such rapid succession. It is a bit strenuous in all of your minds. Maybe that explains why you have all awoken imperiled for the past week and some number of days, except for a few of you.
So earlier, was I imperiled?
Yes.
So I need to actually move another one down.
Oh, yes.
Because you took a damage.
I prepared a meal last time.
Took a
Sorry about
damage.
that.
Yeah, you did. So,
He was not
Warren's
here.
here.
It
so
wasn't.
didn't
He
get
was
the
not
bonus.
here.
Here, I don't
He
get
was
bonus
not here,
for
so he gets bonus.
right, but
But I'm saying for everyone else.
food thing, that's pretty awesome.
So when they take a break at some point, I think that Elisa might step away for a moment and grab something out of her bag, such as mandrake root,
Okay.
while she's trying to do her investigation.
They're gonna be like, she's a witch. Look at her shaking.
So you imbibe your mandrake root during this
she's
time.
so she just
You gain your corruption, and an hour later, I think you get +1 to your apparel condition track while under mandrake.
I do, but also I am a true detective.
Oh yeah.
So when intoxicated or under the effects of deliriums, make a scrutinized test. If successful, you can ask the GM for one important clue from the investigations once per day.
Yes. So you may make a scrutinized test. And you're gonna have to pour through these novels, but it'll be a challenging test.
It's the Yellow King. You don't even need to know, I'll tell you. It's always the Yellow
The
King.
Yellow King.
It was the butler.
In the pantry with a candlestick. Scrutinize. You said what difficulty? Scrutinize is 52, so 42. A 7 will work.
All right. What do you wish to ask about this investigation from the clues that you have so far? From the clues that you have gathered so far,
Let's
that
gather those up.
is the one requirement we will put over this, and you all have gathered clues at this point. What would you like to learn about these clues?
I think I only have the 4 clues currently.
Yeah, I thought someone else.
I haven't a clue.
Someone had a clue.
I have not a clue. I thought you had a clue.
Miniature wooden tower.
Yeah.
That's actually the thing I
There
want
was
to know
like the
the most
pamphlets.
about.
There was.
There was a pamphlet.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
Where's
have.
our card?
Oh, she
I
got it.
have.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I was like-
I know we had.
She
cards.
thieved them from your character sheets.
Yoink. No, actually,
Well, I had one of them for
most
a while.
of these I was the one that figured out, but yeah, there's a couple that were
pamphlets.
Yeah,
Give
we
me
have
my pamphlets.
the pamphlet. No, I had to go get another one. Remember, it got shredded. Image of the prophet, the cloak and key, or the key and the cloak pin, the wooden sword, and the miniature wooden tower are the clues we have currently. So I think the miniature wooden tower is the thing I want to know the most about.
That's the most recent clue I think we've gotten.
It's the one I don't have any information on whatsoever, too.
Your professional trait, so you do what you do.
You decide
You do.
next time.
So, but yeah, I'm gonna think. So, how do I phrase it? Do I ask you a question and you can give me information, or how do you want to do this?
What do you wish to learn about?
The miniature wooden tower and how it pertains to their plans in the city.
Okay. So, over the evening, you will be in your drug-induced haze and try to better understand what precisely the miniature wooden tower may pertain to. And you can't help but settle back on this person that they mentioned before you not met, a man named Amadeus Chandler. He was a bell guard.
We met him.
No, she has.
She is not.
Oh, sorry.
The name keeps coming up in your mind. Something about Amadeus Chandler in connection to a tower.
Okay.
The evening will go on, and Master Hexenster does not show up. The next morning,
I thought, oh, sorry.
Told you we should not have to.
you all awaken imperiled. Unless you intend to eat, Warren's stew that he has prepared.
Gee, I'll eat one of these, dear.
How many servings do you have left?
I have
I wasn't even aware stew was an option.
3 days left.
So three people may eat stew.
With impervious mind.
Or actually, how many people does it support? It's number equal your fellowship bonus, right?
Yeah.
How much your fellowship bonus?
4.
Okay, so four people can drink the camp follower's stew, and will recover 2 unhindered.
Does this have the updated drawbacks?
The what?
Yes.
The additional drawbacks?
Yes.
Because I might sit out because if it's too rich of a meal, it will affect my sour stomach.
Impervious mind is when you suffer mental peril, reduce your peril protection track by 1. Does that mean
But one less step when you suffer peril.
Right, so would I still be unhindered, or does this not count towards that?
This doesn't count. It's when you suffer peril.
Suffer.
Yeah, so like if you took 10 peril and it moved you down 2 steps, you only move down 1 step.
Got it. Okay.
I'll take one of the 4.
Okay,
Sure.
I'll take one.
Go ahead.
Now I'll take one. Because I can't recover very easily. I don't like this place and I don't trust it.
The next day comes, and it's a day that is marked by the beginning of a storm. You hear the whinnying of horses who are nervous at the impending storm as lightning flashes through the sky, a low rumbling every once so often. There's a distant thunder and a light rain that begins to fall. The city, it is now the first full second day since the reek is gone.
I would have my other set of clothes washed today.
Certainly. Sure, just pay 3 brass.
Yep. I
What
already
is-
did once.
Well, boss, it wasn't a holy day, right?
No, it wasn't.
He
He
should
was
have
supposed to come back.
We went for this 9 hours, and he waited for the instructions of the machine.
Possibly his calculations didn't finish, and he is the type that would have sat by it to wait.
Should we seek to see if he's still at the chapter house? Then that would be the next logical step, right?
What else would we do?
That's
Well,
it, right, though, boss?
Yeah, I'm full going and seeing if he's all right.
There's also,
I didn't want to leave.
we could have stayed, but to be honest, we might have gotten in the way of this particular work he was doing.
Yeah. I kind of agree.
I know me
He didn't
personally.
seem particularly happy for us to stay.
No. But I do say we go again.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, if something happened to him, that's not saying that we could have stopped it.
Right.
Did you want to go out?
So yes, I say we go to the living house.
I'm greening that.
I'm in my fancy clothes now.
And by the time you head across Messiah Square, it's full-on heavy rain. The sky is dark. Your clothes are wet. It's a cold, late autumn day. You can see your breath in front of you. It's getting in your small clothes and in your socks and your boots. And you come to the outside of the Da Vinci Chapter House, and you notice that there are no guards there. Brigandine is gone. There is a number of wooden boards that have been hammered up over the threshold beneath the gate, and there is a large broadsheet with a running ink on top of it. It says, "Condemned by order of the Baroness Madeline Dupre, Sun, the Moon, the Stars, the beloved of Durendal." It is stamped and sealed, but the ink is running.
Huh.
Now there's a fine how do you do.
I'm thinking he might have finished up. He's probably just sleeping.
That could be it. Is it a holy day today?
No.
Act as though I follow religious
I
paths.
do not believe it is.
Who doesn't?
Is anyone educated?
Yeah.
It's not a holy day.
Tonight's not a holy night either, so I mean, not that I really want to sit around the kip and get out of the rain, but
Yeah, at least it does make it a point to get under an eave. Well,
Water is building in the gutters and spilling forth and curtains in front of you.
what do you
These
think? Bob?
dilapidated buildings do little to really keep you dry. Best as they can without a parasol, obviously.
I know what I think.
you think something happened to him?
Yeah, I do.
But do you think Abel got to it? Who would have done something to him? Because that's the only person I...
If there's something happened to him, why would there be a note on the door?
The brigandine could have put that thinking that he had left.
Them boys were pretty scared of him.
They turned tail and gone out of here.
I did say his name and the thunderstruck. That boy was, he was shaking. He really thought he was a wizard.
Your
He
timing,
even said wizard.
your timing wasn't
They have returned to Levention Chapter House to find that the threshold has been boarded up, and that there is an order from the Baroness Madeline Dupre. This building is now condemned.
Listen, we's in Besiah Square. We can go and we can talk if you like. See if the 4 out of 72 for the old city have reported back in.
You could. This is his area, yeah.
That's the only idea I've got.
We could
What
go
about-
back. We could go back in. We're here.
What about the other
Take one
man?
around.
The one from 13 that recognized you. Think he might be around here still? Might know something?
Hopefully he wouldn't recognize me in my current state.
Well,
But I doubt it. Hexenstern said he chased everyone out. He had the brigandine completely empty the school.
I mean, I still need time to go through the rest of my logs.
You do still have books, but and I suppose we could, but to be honest, if there is something that did happen to Hexenstern, the trail gets a lot colder.
You two are batting at wives' tales here. I mean, we don't know anything happened. The man's capable, intelligent. He probably was the one that asked the Baroness to condemn the place so he could tinker with those toys in there.
Well, I'm sure it's condemned because the damn place is about to fall over. It's the feeling I've gotten the whole time.
I don't know, I didn't like those machines. It's a personal view.
Take a look at the boarded up threshold and see. Try to figure out how what I could do to get past it, or how long it would take to dismantle.
You need a crowbar and some time.
I would want to head more towards the student dorms. See if there's any signs of them lingering around a bit. Or if they
The student doors have similarly been condemned. They've been boarded up, and a notice of a place there as well. The ink is running on the paper.
What of this 13, man of the 13, recognize you here?
What
What?
about him?
The 13 here.
Oh, no, he just happened to be somebody who worked and attended this place. And he was a part of the 13.
Worked here.
That's what he
right, he
said.
was a groundskeeper. I mean, most of your 13 were just regular folk.
Right.
He seemed to know a lot.
The Sioux State Prince is not. Well, the prophet, or whatever he calls himself. Friends, prophet.
He was a regular folk.
Well,
Till he caught fire.
right, but what was the man's name? His
The man I spoke to.
no,
Alex?
no, the man who
Abel.
fired Abel, right?
Well, Alex was the 13 member that I spoke to, but if you're referring to the man who drove the other man insane, who drove Austin insane, that was Abel.
No, I mean the prophet's man, the prophet's rabble rouser.
Oh, his name.
Adeline?
Damn it! I knew it was an A. I was close.
It's Eustace Adelard.
Useless Adelard might have to.
He was apparently a
Well,
spy
they all
master.
went west, apparently, towards Kale Landing.
Tyrion.
Sorry.
Okay.
Wasn't Landon technically west too as well?
It is to the west. They're all to the west.
Everything's
Every castle's to the west.
Everything's
Where are the castles? To the west.
What difference does it make?
Well,
How far east are we?
I was trying, I mean, I've been sick. Just trying to connect dots from the outside, looking at the square,
I don't think Adelard had anything to do with
No,
this.
I couldn't remember his name. Abelard.
13 were just simply a means
Useless.
to an end. We got what we wanted from them.
I don't know that they're completely done with us at this point.
I do not. I know for a fact that they're not.
I think the best
gone.
way to find out anything about Existan is to go and see with Reich about what happened to them soldiers. If they reported back in, if they condemned it, whatnot, because we're trying to find Existan. That's it.
Well, then let us go to your
Go,
commander
boss.
friend.
Alright. So the Brigandine station you go in the storm. Soaking wet, you come to the portico and Brigandine welcomes you inside. And within, it's actually...
Can I put on my wilderness cloak?
It's dry and warm inside here. He's sitting before a hearth in the central chamber of this square, squat tower with a few kind of dour-looking Brigandine fellows who are warming their hands by the fire. You too find yourselves kind of inching closer and closer into it as you engage in conversation with Lieutenant Reich. He shakes his head and says, "The men reported back last evening, and Hexenstern came with a number of wagons, and most of the boys worked all night to empty that place out. Packed everything they possibly could up. As they said, on their way out, they hammered it shut. Put up the paperwork. Boys just returned no more than 3-4 hours ago.
So
Long night.
the last they saw of Existan, he was outside.
Last evening, or in the morning, I should say, right before this damnable storm came over the city.
Yes.
Right, so he's just sleeping it off.
The man just got busy.
Right.
Alright.
The boss
Think
was
there's any
getting
cause
worried.
for concern?
Surprised the rumbling in the wagons didn't wake you up. The whole damn wagon train, it seemed like, passed by down through Messiah Square. Oxen and all.
I think it was the rain.
When one is
Dead
exhausted,
silence.
you'd be surprised the things you could sleep through.
I had a nail or two, if I must admit.
Right. After
Just
a day like yesterday?
With everything being strange after Penumbra, you have to forgive me for assuming the worst.
Assuming the worst. Where did he say he was going?
Oh, I didn't talk to him. The boys simply said that he too wanted to gather up everything out of that queer tower, loaded it all up. As they did, disassembled something, put it in pieces in the back of an old oxen-drawn wagon, and I suppose off to the palace he went.
How many in his company?
And his? None. Just him.
Just him.
So he was driving several wagons, all by himself.
Well, no, he had wagon drivers, hired hands. But the boys are the ones who loaded it all up out of the whatever you call it, chapter house.
So the last they saw was him taking off in the wagons in front of the house.
Aye.
Okay.
Any of the boys around?
Well, can't throw a stone around here in Messiah Square without finding a hired hand. I don't say I know their names or who they were, but I mean, if you ask around, I'm sure someone will tell you something.
I think
Plenty of drovers around here.
He's absconding. He's leaving.
Hexenstone.
Yes. Yes, he is. He would have asked for your assistance. He clearly was hiding this from you. He intends to take off in the dark of night. If he hasn't already.
Or the light in the morning, mate. Whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah,
I don't
to be
think he was
fair.
going
I mean,
blind.
I did start my duty this morning, and I did see them wagons passing by, but they weren't going towards the gates of the city. They were heading further in toward the palace, just up that hill that way.
no, I'm gonna assume that we ain't exactly allowed to go cold upon the palace.
Not dressed like that. You know, you need a sponsor.
I'm in my finest.
Well, we got a sponsor.
Excuse yourself.
What's that?
She is in her, like,
Fine.
actual nice clothing.
Well, it's not just dressing the dress or talking the talk. It's about knowing who you know.
Well, we do have a sponsor.
Who's that?
Besides Texas.
Is that Amadeus?
Yeah.
Amadeus?
Mr. Chandler.
Amadeus?
Amadeus.
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 Mr. Amadeus?
Amadeus.
Aye, Amadeus.
Ooh,
He's a
Amadeus.
Belgard. He's. I'm sure you know that he's got pull here in the city.
Yeah. He's he always said if we needed a favor.
Oh, we could go and talk to him.
He is
that's
a
it.
Belgard.
Belgard. So, is there like bells with towers on them?
Well, yeah, it's what you hear at the witching hour every night.
Yeah. No, I hear them. Just
You hear the song. It goes 12 times, down, 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 like a song almost.
yeah. Like,
Every now and
like
then-
Metallica's one. I mean,
Every now and then it changes a little bit. It's done, dun, dun, dun.
Well, that's different parts of the city it's coming from is why.
yeah, it's the echo.
Some are behind hills, some are near down the old mine that way. One's up on the tall hill by the palace.
You ever heard of the Doppler effect? Oh.
Every night, like clockwork. The bells peal 12 times.
Yeah. So that's, if it comes down to it, and you really want to, okay. Again, tonight is not holy night. I checked the canon, I checked the Librum, and Hexen's going to be at the cloak, like he said he would.
Yeah, I mean,
The man's been extremely dependable. I
That's
don't
when
believe he's
it's-
absconding. I don't.
Except when it's time to be paying out the money, I see how it is.
Well, maybe
He's
that was
skipping out on his dues and
Maybe that was. Are we saying all this in front of?
We'll assume you're gone at this point.
yeah.
You're back outside in the storm.
There you
Just
go.
making sure.
Right. Yeah.
You know that
There he
well-known
goes.
prominent figure for your city? He's a piece of shit.
Yeah, that guy who basically got himself in murder just a day ago.
There he goes.
Everyone is dependable until they don't.
Well, why don't we give him the opportunity to fail upon his dependability?
Well, he done did it last night. Well, I don't see my money.
Listen, I mean, come on. He's a man who's obviously very busy. I mean, that's why I didn't think it was very odd that he didn't show.
Very
So-
busy.
Right. Doing
Busy spending my money.
doing his allure and things. I mean, seems like whatever we did had some sort of effect. So I think he'll. I think he'll recognize that, and you get our money.
oh, you better recognize.
I mean, I would.
Endless gangster rap.
It's like this.
You better recognize, Nave. Or you best recognize,
You best.
Nave.
You best. Well,
You gotta wait out the day to see if he shows at the cloakroom.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not.
If
I mean, I'm fine with that.
I mean, Boss, what do you want to do? I mean, do you want to burn our favor from Penumbra on something so, I hate to say it, but unnecessary?
So they was headed towards the castle, and how many ways that? I mean, if they was going to abscond away from the city,
There's only one gate.
there's only one gate. Is that true?
Well,
That is true.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a gate behind the castle, because I've never been to the castle. But Dorinda was a fortified city. Is a fortified city.
It's
One of the only cities that was never taken during the war.
So he's gonna have to find out where he's going without calling in any favors. All we gotta do is go that direction, drop a couple pennies to people we see along the lane. It's not like he was exactly the model of subtlety.
No, it doesn't sound like it. He had a whole wagon train going this morning.
Somebody saw him everywhere he went. Let's find out where he went.
I mean, there's soup pots all along that way. I mean,
Yeah.
buy a
I'd
cuppa or two for.
I'd rather do that and just trust but verify rather than just not trust at all.
Trust but verify.
Yeah.
What the barristers say.
I feel you may not be using that word quite correctly in its syntax, but
What?
Right?
you didn't say the right thing.
I didn't.
No.
So
trust
that
with
word
verify.
doesn't mean what you think it means?
It,
Finding your way along the soup kitchens along the way, you'll a tuppence, sir, and I can tell you precisely what you need to know. Young ones will say it'll demand no more than three pennies, and a successful rumor test. That will be an easy test. Whoever chooses to
I'll
make
try
it.
or
I
help.
can do it.
I gotta
Or I'll
say,
assist.
To be fair, it was Alistair's idea, so I think Alistair should probably roll the dice on this. But if anyone can assist
yes.
with
We
the skill rank,
Cool.
I think everybody can
yeah.
take one.
Just take someone's, yeah.
Her dice are lucky.
Blue is my 10th place, by the way. Okay. Alright, so for those listening at home, it's an easy rumor test. That is a 71% chance. And 19 is the
Nice.
result, so we are successful.
well, these young street lads and lassies, these gutter snipes will tell you, yeah, that old mad mage, he traveled down the road and brought the storm with him. Rumbled his carriages just like the storm all the way up the hill back to the palace. Did it early this morning. By the time the sun rose, the storm was over the city. That old mad mage, he's a curse.
I don't know.
You can't trust no Aloranites, a Wallstadian says. Or sorry, a Gralsteader says.
Truth.
He ain't wrong.
Still waiting
So why would he be sneaking these arcane machines into the palace?
I don't know that he was sneaking. I mean, 3 wagons isn't really the best
Well,
of stealth.
I suppose it's a
And
sneak
using
you can do
brigandine
when
to
you're
load
hauling
them.
things that are several hundred stone.
I mean, if this thing is as valuable as he says it is, I mean, and as useful as he says it is, then
I'm not ruling out the possibility of something, bad happening. But I'm saying right now, we might do more harm than good by continuing to investigate this particular path.
I don't like it. I'll be the first to say.
Well, I don't like it either, but I'm weighing risks here.
Yeah, don't bite the hand that feeds you. I mean, let's just give it till tonight. You should.
Alright.
It's the fan, and
I'm willing to do that.
I mean, give the man another night, right?
There's really nothing we can do.
Maybe
at this
he needs to
point
rustle
anyway.
up a coin. I don't know.
We're
Could.
not breaking into the palace.
Well, we could get an introduction to the palace, but remember, we got one favor.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
so you're saying we only got one shot?
Yeah.
You don't miss your chance.
Do not miss
Opportunity on
Right.
Woo!
And I'm not going to throw away my shot.
No.
Something about spaghetti. I don't know.
It's like the Hamilton reference.
That was
It is
Hamilton.
not throw away my shot.
Yeah.
So, the day will grow long, and the sky just gets darker and darker and darker as the day progresses into night. because of course the sun sets earlier in late autumn, especially. And by the time the sun sets, I mean it's cold enough out where you can see your breath. Don't mean the water's not the rain's not freezing, but it's cold and nasty and dreary and really uncomfortable. And fortunately, the cloakroom is like this diamond in the rough, this oasis in the storm, this place that you can go to where everybody
knows your name.
Dun, dun, dun. Only if I was able to cue that up at that time. That would have been awesome. Would have been super awesome. Unfortunately not. So you come inside from the storm. There's some people here.
Yeah, you hear them walking around upstairs.
Right.
Yeah, there's floors are creaking, and there's clearly people here gathered for a local scald from the north, a performer, if you will, a different one than the night before. About time when it's time to sup, coming in from the night beneath a black parasol, shaking the water from his overcoat, almost like a dog would shake. Kind of, you see Hexenstern, the Gothric mage, well, warlock as you call him.
Mad mage.
He kind of shakes his cloak dry with this very high kind of. Mad Mardigan. He has this high collar that makes it look almost like a traditional vampire's collar, and the man is pale as a sheet anyway. He shakes it loose and puts it on the hook beside the hearth, and he takes his hat off and puts it on a nearby hook, and he closes his parasol, puts it by the front door, and wipes his boots at the front where there's this kind of rugged-looking leather mat, and he walks inside, and his eyes light up as he sees you, and he smiles. You see his beard is kind of salt and pepper gray, perhaps somebody whose hair's turned gray a little younger than he had anticipated, but he's wearing just kind of clothes befitting the season and for warmth and for dirt. His dark clothes. Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
I hope that you would forgive my absence from last evening.
Oh, we were just a little concerned, but we heard you were all right. So
A terrible mishap. Wrong calculation. I'll explain more when we sit down. Please, Barkeep, we shall have the supper for tonight. Nothing too rich for this one's tummy. And whatever you wish to drink. We have business to discuss.
all right.
Now you're
Well,
talking my leg.
So just so you know,
You got your pennies out rubbing them?
with everything happening with Penumbra and the strange occurrences since, I had a bad feeling about this, and so we went asking about you just to make sure you was okay.
I certainly appreciate your concern. And it is noted. Duly noted.
Well, no, just in case you hear about it, we did go asking, so.
I appreciate your concern. It is shared. It feels like we have grown closer as time has gone on.
Well, thank you.
Please, sit, drink, let us talk. So, tell me, as you're eating, picking at the food, drinking, how you discovered anything in the volumes.
Did we get the roll for that since we spent time? Or?
Not yet. You've not yet finished. There's too many books at this point. Too many books. Let me clarify how long it will take you to go through these books.
Okay. That might.
It will be 7 days. I rolled a phase 6 on the chaos set.
Awesome.
A lot of them are written. Yeah, there's a lot
The
there.
unfortunate thing is this handwriting is not the tidiest, and there's not too many of us in our group that have the best of reading skills.
Well,
So
We are getting through.
we are continuing our research.
Day 2 of 7. I think it shall take us a week.
I know my letters.
here's a clue: the Da Vinci logs. It will take you. I said 6 days, right?
7.
7. You said 7.
I mean, you could do 6. That's
Yeah.
fine.
I'm okay with 6. But...
I mean, we've done one
The
day
Da Vinci
already,
logs.
So yeah, 6.
Okay, so we are at 2 days technically at this
Or
point.
1 day.
Only one.
No.
So that's unfortunate. Well, continue on. I am certain that something will come up, without a doubt.
One can hope.
Yes. Well, let me tell you about my night. So, here I am, seeing to the calculations on the difference engine, anticipating the results I was looking for, to collate all these different situations since Penumbra. I put in all of the equations, as I understood them, all of the questions and problems that I knew, and by extension some of what you knew. The results were not as anticipated. I assumed the difference engine was probably defunct, that perhaps Professor Halsdorf had not attended to the engine as carefully as one would need to be. He was a clockmaker in his younger days, so it was not surprising to know that he would be a keeper of such a magnificent device. But
He's a very intrusive flute.
blame the skull. Tell him to quiet down. No less. I suspect that he was not, as he grew in his madness, that his attentions toward maintaining the machine, he had grown lax in those duties. After the results came out, I figured best to disassemble the thing and bring it back to the study, he says, in the palace.
What was the answer it gave?
Gibberish, he says. I do not quite understand. A series of questions.
What were those questions?
Strange indeed. Strings of words and letters I cannot make heads or tails of.
Ah, okay.
I am still deciphering what the intention was, but it will take some time for me to rebuild the difference engine and to recalculate everything.
Perhaps he meant to have the results of the machine come out in code.
Well, perhaps, I suppose. Regardless, it will take some time to reassemble the difference engine to have it serviced in a way that is appropriate to acquire the proper reagents to fire it back up. I suspect 2 to 3 months' time.
Wow.
Well, then at this point, I don't know that particular information will be pertinent right at this moment. at least.
Unfortunately not. But I will continue my study of his story here. He reads the red book.
Yes, that is an interesting point. What? That's in code, written to be deceptive.
Well,
could the engine be triggered to be deceptive and only be deciphered from him?
Well, that's what I said.
In
No, I
fact,
said one, very deceptive.
the first thing that I did is I took the result of the equations and looked at them in the mirror, and I could not decipher them.
Ah, then it was just
It
Hexenstein, you're always so much. Tiberius, you're so much always.
was literally gobbledygook.
That's what I call it, Tiberius.
But nonetheless, I believe, for purposes of your investigations of the Reek, it has led to a misfortunate end for Professor Hofdorf, for the headmaster. It's unfortunate what happened to him in all this, and knowing that he had some part to play is not only disappointing but disturbing, to say the very least.
Are we truly disturbed by him leaving, or that he corrupted and assassinated youths to get his way?
Any death is not to be celebrated. Every life is precious.
Right. I mean, it's a sad thing when anyone takes their life.
Well,
He should have been served. He should have been. He should have instead of taking he has taken the worst way out, and when he meets the custodian in the Well of Souls, he will be properly punished.
Ah. Agreed then.
Judgment will be there regardless. Our life does not. Our life continues after death. But no less, the lives that were lost at his hand in this whole business with the Reek is disappointing and disturbing.
But the Reek is gone.
The Reek is gone, yes. Yeah, but I do not think that this investigation is over yet. What little I read of the volume last evening, he describes in excruciating detail, this man Abel. He explains in some of midway through this, when Abel makes the appearance in his personal logs that there were other students there when Abel had arrived. I do not believe Abel was a figment of his imagination. I think Abel is real.
I'd agree with that.
I don't know if that means the greater scheme of things, but nonetheless, you have at least solved one of the city's problems regarding the reek, and you have attended to the deed admirably. I certainly owe you a debt of gratitude, as does the Baroness. And the purse, of course. I have not forgotten that.
Yeah.
One
My
cannot
eyes finally
survive.
cleared up too, so.
One cannot
That's
survive purely on congratulations and backpats. He will procure the purse of coin that was agreed upon, which I believe was 10 crowns each.
That was a big sum.
Yeah. He will produce the crowns and each in silken pouches and give them to you.
Because our leader may think there's wizards in the world.
Yeah,
He is
sounds
a
right.
smooth-tongued businessman.
No less.
Would you say he's a super?
I will report to the Baroness in due time about your service and your sacrifice you have given in the name of unraveling this strangeness, this penumbra. I should hope that in the near future I may call upon you again. Yeah?
My friend, my ears are open.
Good.
We can be a help.
I will need some time. My studies will take me far, I'm certain, and this able fellow, whoever he is, there is something deeper afoot. I do not know what it is yet, but I suspect that the headmaster, renowned as he may be in his understandings of the natural philosophy of the world, that he is but one cog in a greater machine. And I don't know if Abel is its operator, or if he too is a cog as well. But there's more at play, I feel, and those answers will be determined by you. He places the red book in the middle of the table. I entrust to you Professor Hofdorf's personal journal. I hope that it guides you in your investigations.
Alright.
Many thanks.
Is there a...
We will simply call it the red book.
the red book?
So you're asking us to look further, see what's going on.
So, yeah. Well, Warren, again, very precise.
So-
are we assuming that we should look for this able?
The red book.
So, we're on assignment again.
On assignment?
Yeah.
Let me share with you some insight about Durendal.
Sure.
The Dufresne have served the girdle, ostensibly Durendal, for some number of years now. Call it a decade or so. When Liam Dufresne had founded the agency on Steed's Hill, not far from here, he made a solemn promise to the Duke. The Duke that came before the Baroness, God rest his soul. His promise was to serve the city in all that he and its people could muster, to safeguard it against outside influences. The Master Dufresne has passed, and times have changed. The Duke, Vance Dantonthorn, Steward rest his soul, is now buried below the earth. The Baron Genevieve has come and went, and in his place the Baroness. Times are changing in Durendal. This city is positioned politically from a point of strength. I suspect it is only a matter of time until the Baroness makes her great pronouncement. You would do well to position yourselves in this investigation to carry on the legacy that your master Liam Dufresne had promised the Duke, promised the city. to be a part of this, to be a part of something greater.
So,
Great.
It is no secret that even now, as we sit here in the storm, the Baroness has sent emissaries to the west with the intention of separating the city from the rest of the kingdom.
the Baroness will become a queen.
A city-state.
In a sense, yes.
What, like the City Lights?
I suppose you could say that. It has been the dream of the people of Durendal. The Baroness sees this as what is to come of the city. And those who will join her in this endeavor will earn her undying loyalty. No, we are just men and women. Small and we are not ministers of the parliament. We are not barons. We are not kings.
Does she expect the king to accept this?
I mean, no offense here when I say this, but literally, her and what army is going to keep Unifier from, well, reunifying?
In times of old, one may ask this, one may say, where are the soldiers who will back up your claim? But one only needs look to the hills and below the earth. One need only look to the stores of saltpeter in this city to understand that the Unifier's strength rests solely in the Baroness's hands. There is no other source of gunpowder in the kingdom save for that of Durendal.
Listen, them sorts of decidings is done by people who should be best left for them. Now,
Like, you see like a very concerned look on Harper's face. Like, he
No.
doesn't think this is going to go well.
now,
He doesn't seem opposed to it, he just doesn't think it's going to go well.
so are you saying you want us to
Continue the investigation.
make efforts to cause that to happen? I mean, because you could take all sorts of implications from this. So,
So, boss, maybe. To me, it seems like I could be putting words in your mouth, Master Hexenstern, but to continue our investigation and continue to restabilize the city.
yeah, I mean, because
Because the number has changed things.
right, because whether or not it becomes its own city-state or not, having a better city
Good work.
helps both.
I mean, I have that one training of warfare to go. Matt doesn't
I
have
believe that Master Banneker has a right.
Every once in a while.
We are all but women and men. We are not barons, we are not princes, we are not kings, and we are not queens. But we all have a role to play. To earn the Baroness's favor is to secure your future
Right.
in the girdle.
Yeah.
I just hope it can all be done peacefully.
Right. So, in order for us to continue to do the work for the Baroness, because that is our assignment,
Right.
we will need to continue to fund our efforts, which we have done through this. And so, what of this? We want to continue looking into this book to see if we can continue to investigate. But staying in cloakrooms costs money, and finding food and getting patched up when you run across the wrong people, all of that.
I can personally ensure that your stay in the cloakroom and any foodstuffs that you should need during your stay in Durendal will be taken care of end to end.
Oh.
As for your own personal health and safety, well, that is your responsibility. Furthermore, my intention in a week's time once I have collected my thoughts and produced my report for the Baroness, is to speak about your investigation and your aid in undoing this reek. I know it will bring her such sweet thoughts to know that you are thinking of her people's welfare. I will submit this to the Baroness, and more importantly, I will arrange a meeting.
That'd be great. It'd be an honor. I'm gonna have to get some new clothes tailored.
Well, I can help.
That may take about a week.
You will stand before
Yeah, sure.
one of the greatest women of all time. I will ensure that this meeting is set, and I will cast this in a favorable light. Trust me. This is what I am willing to do. This is what I can put up. This is table stakes. But it's the most that I can do for now.
Without saying a word, Terwin just looks at each member of the freight agency to make sure that they're on board with it. Like he's looking to see if anyone is showing signs of reservation, like sour looks, things like that.
Well, I mean, like I was saying earlier,
Alistair
Hamish
has
has
a
that.
default sour look. Yeah, it's impossible to read how he feels about the situation.
So,
Alistair's got resting bitch face over here.
I'll try to give away no tell.
Like you see, like concern on him, on Harper's face,
He's
but it's
got
not like.
RBO.
Let's go around the table and describe this. So, from Harper's perspective, what does Terwin see from Harper's perspective? Sorry, what does Terwin see from Harper?
Yeah, so he'll see like concern on his face because like Harper would be worried that like if you take away the weapons of a king, then that could bring retribution and that would bring punishment upon the people of Durandal. There's 75 or so guards plus 45,000 people. In his, limited amount of warfare training, that doesn't seem like great odds. So he's like very concerned and is trying to ponder on how we could possibly resolve this peacefully. And there's hope there that there is, but it's very much concern right now.
So, what would Terwin see from Banneker Steeple's face?
Thumbs up, soldier. Let's get rich.
So, a nod of approval. Affirmative nod of approval.
Oh yeah.
And then from Alistair?
No tell. He gives a no, tries to give no indication. Completely stone-faced.
What does Terwin see from Elisa?
Elisa's actually making it a point to kind of thumb through the book as she looks up and nods occasionally at what Hexenstern is saying. And just, oh, yeah.
Seems she's on board. And finally, what of Warren?
Warren looks a little confused and apprehensive about the whole thing. He's like looking around in random directions at the same time.
Is this high chews again?
Snap.
That was a critical fail.
You look back toward Hexenstern.
Like,
Terwin speaks.
as long as we're not
It's like a
starting
weird
any
Japanese
wars,
taffy bubblegum.
say we're in line.
I do not believe it will come to that.
They're really good.
You do what you're good at. Nobody's asking you to pick up a sword and defend Baroness.
It's kind of what I'm good at.
Well, perhaps you're in the wrong group.
Smirk.
And with that, we will conclude our session for tonight. Everybody, 100 reward points.
Yeah.
And we had no corruption, so it's an order.
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
I
you
won.
did.
Won.
Okay.
For those who either took delirious
I like drugs. Oh.
or just skipped out on the first part.
All right. The wrap up for tonight. Corruption roll. 6.
We're good.
All right. So that was only episode 22. We recorded end to end tonight. So thank you all for listening in, and we will see you next week on episode 23, The Queen of Embers.
On Dragon Ball Z.
Thanks, guys. See ya. Bye. Bye.
Every time.
Oh, we just have to do that.